Lane. What's happening, man? How you doing?
I'm a little bewildered, and you guys are right. Like, I'll be honest, I had not paid any attention to or heard the comments. So when you guys mentioned Randy Moss, I pulled up an article while you were talking about it, and it's the first I've seen of it, and it's outrageous. I'll be honest. I mean, my initial reaction is that you made the point in Nashville. Yeah, there are parts of Nashville that are absolutely unsafe. I'll never forget watching when I was living in one of those unsafe places. You know, somebody got shot in my front lawn. So, and that's 10 minutes from the stadium. So I don't think that you can necessarily sit there. And also, let's remember that Moss did play for a short stint where he quit on his team with the Raiders when they were in Oakland. Like, yes, the Bay Area. I went to the first Raiders game I went to as I was leaving the stadium. I asked somebody as I was leaving, I said, hey, we want to go somewhere and get a drink. Where can we go? And the really kind security person said, oh, my God, no, you have to immediately get on the train and get away from the stadium. This is not a safe area. So, like, I don't really understand why Duval County would have anything to do. Let's be real. When you're making Urban Meyer money, you build that house wherever you want to build that house, and you have a car service take you in if you have to. So I'm not really sure where that county is would have anything to do, or the violence in that county would have anything to do with why a coach would or wouldn't take a job. It seems like an absolutely strange statement for Moss to make.
Yeah, Jason Fitz with us here on ESPN 690, and I think Austin's right. I think he tried to one-up a little bit, and I don't know if it got taken out of context. I think he just delivered it maybe in not the way he intended. Either way, there is this view that Urban Meyer coming to Jacksonville is a leap because of the college to the NFL game. There feels like there is an NFL fraternity. Some people will like it, some people won't. Rex Ryan on the same show said, welcome to the big boy league. So, first of all, we haven't talked to you since. So what do you think of it, the Urban Meyer hire? And also, how much of a transition will it be, and can it work?
Well, look, and by the way, Rex is somebody that's never been quiet about his own shameless want for some of these jobs. So I think you have to understand, you know, I've worked with him on Get Up a long time ago, and this was, at the time, he was even saying, well, I could have done that job better. So, like, there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to have plenty to say about a college coach making the leap. Look, Urban Meyer, I don't worry about a college coach making the leap, especially Urban Meyer making the leap, because as you referenced earlier, Brent, we are seeing now more and more of the college concepts come into the NFL, and it's coming in with some level of success. That's part of why we see young quarterbacks come in and deliver quickly with big historic numbers constantly, because they'll come in with concepts that match the needs of that quarterback, and they'll figure out a way to maximize it, bring some of those concepts in, especially in the passing game. So I don't think that there's any worry on whether or not Urban Meyer's offense can handle it. The problem I have with the hire in general would be fear for whatever's going on health-wise with Urban, because let's remember he's left a couple of jobs because of it, and the people I've talked to in the college football community, one particularly said they've never met anybody that takes losses harder than Urban Meyer. It just seems to rock him all the way to his core. And there's a belief from some that is what essentially spirals him to getting sick. Like one loss, whether it perceived loss, real loss, losing out on somebody in recruiting was the sort of thing that would just absolutely gut him. So if that's the case, and he's going to a franchise that hasn't necessarily had the most success and is going to need a little time to rebuild it, how does he handle what he's not used to, which is losing a bunch of football games? Now, you know, that's, to me, the biggest question about it, because remembering that these contracts for coaches are fully guaranteed, you're now all in. Aside from that, I mean, here's the thing. We never know with coaching hires, and you can go back and just do a quick Google search on ranking the coaching hires, and you'll see how often we're wrong when you look back 5 years ago at which coach was supposed to be great and which one wasn't. So if I'm the Jags as an organization in the city of Jacksonville right now, I don't know that there's ever been a time that I've been more excited about my present and my future, because I now know that I have a big-name coach, and I now know that I'm about to get a once-in-a-generation Peyton Manning-like quarterback. So, yeah, I mean, what else would you possibly want as a fan base? So, you know, I would at least give him a shot before I decided that he can't coach in the NFL.
Talking to Jason Fitz from ESPN. Jason, I kind of want a national media's perspective here. And I kind of said this last week a little bit. Like, when you look at the Seattle Seahawks in the 90s and early 2000s, I mean, there was a couple runs, but nothing major, right? And they weren't really that cool team to cheer for. Pete Carroll comes in, adds energy, adds the players, they get new uniforms, and all of a sudden we're talking about the 12th man. Now we're talking about one of the, the best fan bases, quote unquote, in the entire NFL. And to me, that all stemmed from Pete Carroll. Could you see kind of a, like an uprising, if you will, and kind of be like the Seattle Seahawks of the East with the Jacksonville Jaguars and the type of energy that Urban Meyer could bring to the community and, more importantly, bring to the team.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, by the way. When I was a kid in Vegas, the Seahawks were a rival to the Raiders because they were all in the AFC West at the time. Kids, you may not remember this, but there was a realignment in the NFL. So I grew up anti-Seattle Seahawks, right? But I never saw Seahawks fans anywhere. And I was with Sonny, my wife. We were in Vegas years ago, right as the Super Bowl runs started for Seattle. And I remember telling her at the time, we were there on a Sunday, and everywhere you looked, you saw Seahawks jerseys everywhere. Like Vegas was overrun with Seahawks jerseys. And I told her, I said, man, I just want to see one of these that says the name Steve Largent instead of everything being, about a recent new player. But you're absolutely right. They did a smart thing in a brand redesign that really hit. It hit hard. If I were the Jags, by the way, I'd be considering doing the same exact thing. A full, let's make sure we have the swag that everybody's going to want because you're about to have a quarterback everybody's going to buy the jersey for. So the Seahawks picked a really good time to reinvent their media image, and they did it around a coach that was sort of a rock star personality that people gravitated to and then players gravitated to. And we've seen what it's meant for them. And now they get what they never used to get, which is benefit of the doubt. Like when things don't go well for the Seahawks, it's never, time to change everything. It's always, well, they'll tweak it and get it right next year. So that's the power that comes when you get the right combination of coach and quarterback. And that's what Jacksonville's got to, you've got to believe that today. You've got to believe that you have it. Otherwise, you're in for years of futility. So if you don't believe that today, when will you?
Yeah.
So, 100%.
Jason, I think you're right on the money, too, and I think people do believe it. I mean, there's a buzz around here. There really is. I mean, there has been ever since the Jets won against the Rams to give the Jags the front row seat for the number one pick, and then they clinched it. There was that 8-day stretch. There was a buzz. Trevor Lawrence, big difference than having the number 2 pick. But I'm actually a little bit surprised Meyer has had this much of a buzz. I mean, season ticket deposits, the way people have reacted, I think they feel exactly what you just said. What's interesting about the Seattle comp is Pete Carroll's a real likable guy. I don't know if Urban is that way across the board. I don't know if people would characterize him as that across the board, but sometimes polarizing is good and just gets as much attention because you pick a side. And by the way, Seattle had a little bit of that. Not everybody loves Richard Sherman, but they did like Russell Wilson. I think the quarterback around here, Trevor Lawrence, is a very likable guy, and I think people will like him. So that's fascinating. Hey, got to talk playoffs with you before we let you go. Was there a major surprise for you at all this weekend? Now with the Final Four set, Packers, Bills win, Chiefs win, Bucks win. We're set up for a beauty. We love both of the matchups. It's fantastic for the NFL. But is there a surprise in any of it that you saw over the weekend?
I was surprised that the Saints – I picked the Saints to win over the Bucks. I was surprised that Breeze looked that bad. And, we all saw it, and there are moments – what I really walked away from that game, and as we get into, what we're seeing this weekend – one of my buddies texted me as Aaron Rodgers was just lighting it up and said, why did this team ever draft a quarterback? And then I was sitting there Sunday night watching the Bucs take on the Saints thinking, that's why the Packers drafted a quarterback. Like they are in this little window that I can't believe I'm saying this, but they're actually sort of playing with house money. Like they have a legitimate shot at winning the Super Bowl this year. And on top of that, they've identified what they think their future is. So I'm looking around at the Saints, who may or may not have their future. The Bucs obviously are all in on Brady for now and for let's see how long. But like other teams like the Steelers have no idea what they're doing at quarterback. I keep looking at the Packers saying quietly, sneakily, the Packers have only gotten better in year 2 under Matt LaFleur. Aaron Rodgers playing incredible football right now. He's doing like Mahomes things as he extends plays. It is fun to watch. And oh, by the way, they've really put themselves in a situation where they believe they've set themselves up for the future. I don't know. Like that's a stunning realization to me. So that was the biggest surprise. I think the AFC can look at it and say, hey, we've got young quarterbacks that are going to make this conference great for the next 10 years. That's their big takeaway. But I'm still looking at that Packers unexpected season saying, hey, tip of the hat to them.
I agree with you, especially since I had the Minnesota Vikings winning that division. And I haven't heard from my hometown ever since I made that pick, so it is what it is. Shout out to Iowa, Wisconsin. With that
They've locked the doors on your hometown.
They've locked the doors. And they let Brent right in because he picked the Packers. Yeah,
go to the pickle when you're up there, by the way, folks, in Wisconsin.
Hit up the pickle. Speaking of quarterbacks, let's shift gears a little bit and talk to Deshaun Watson real quick. It's an absolute dumpster fire right now in Houston. I've actually gone away from Jets Twitter, and I'm back on board on Houston Twitter because it is an absolute just spectacle what's transpiring right now. You hear Deshaun Watson wants out. You hear that he wants Bieniemy as the coach. You hear maybe the most important position in all professional sports is maybe getting his way right now, Jason. Are we going to see a revolution in how star players, especially from the quarterback position, have an influence over a team? Or do you see the Houston Texans just saying, you know what, Deshaun, if you don't want to buy in, so be it. We'll trade you away, and it's business as usual for the Houston Texans?
I think there's going to be very few players that will ever have the leverage that Deshaun has right now. Now, that being said, there are going to be a handful of them. And, I think the fear has got to be that as guys get disenfranchised, what keeps them from just walking away, And so that's got to be part of the fear if you're the Texans. The fact is, you blew it. If you're a Texans fan, I don't know that you've ever felt worse. We just talked about how great Jags fans feel. If you're a Texans fan, I don't know what you feel good about at all. And I'm telling you, and this goes for my beloved Raiders, I don't care what you have to give up. If you have a shot at Deshaun Watson, you take that shot all day, every day. I realize that doesn't apply to you guys. You got the number one pick in the draft. You believe in Trevor Lawrence. I believe in proof of concept at the quarterback position, and I think that Deshaun Watson has shown everybody that he can be almost as good as Patrick Mahomes. You got a chance to acquire Patrick Mahomes-like play at the age 24 or 25 where you're going to have the quarterback position set for the next 14 years. I don't care if you have to give up every first and second round draft pick for the next 5 years. I don't care. Ask your pro scouting department to do a better job. Get your draft scouting department in line. Get your GM in line, and actually use the picks that you have in the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh round to get talent around them. When you have a chance for a generational, game-changing talent at the quarterback position, you do whatever it takes to get it. So I think everybody keeps talking about the Jets. I think everybody should be absolutely all in on trying to acquire Deshaun Watson no matter what they have to give up, because you'll have time to build the roster around him. Yeah, he's a superstar.
Yeah, go and get that diet Patrick Mahomes, just kind of like Josh Jacobs at the diet James Robinson, if you will.
I can.
Yeah, you know what? Hey, I like to call myself like the Kmart Blue Light special version of Jesse Palmer. Like, go with a little growth on the face, a little spiky hair. Like, I'm not fit or good looking or tall, but I'm cheaper. So, I'm the unrestricted free agent version of Jesse Palmer.
Kirkland brand. He's the Kirkland brand with tattoos.
You can do like the Bachelor on like the ABC's digital channel or something.
Yeah, I mean, he does some of these like cooking war shows, and I'm like, look, I'm gonna kick his butt and take the job at some point, But maybe if he's on like Food TV, maybe I end up on like some random channel that so HGTV launching their first food show. Like maybe that's where I end up. That's what Watson's a little closer to Mahomes than I am to Jesse Palmer, but still.
We love
Very
you more
comparable.
than we love Jesse Palmer. No doubt about it. Jason Fitz, Spain and Fitz, 7 o'clock all across the country on ESPN Radio. Thanks, man. Good to hear from you.
You guys are the best. Have a great week.
All right. Do you think